guys. Finally got it up on the screen now, for everybody.
Okay.
So Mr. Wick, would you read through the list? I know you did just before we went into
Oh, for item 7.
item
You
7.
want me to go through the entire list? I already said we were gonna talk about 108, but.
Okay, then I'm good. And you're gonna do it individually, right?
Yes, we'll do it individually.
All right.
All right, so PCO 108, I'd like to call on Kevin Ross, if you'd like to come up, please. PCO 108 is access panels for the courtrooms. So, two of the courtrooms, the courts decided they wanted to put up large projectors, 10-foot screens, because we have two very large courtrooms. Well, the soffits and everything else, these screens are motorized. So for them to get to the screens, we had to cut in access panels in the thing. So that's change order is because of the screens. They're motorized. People to cut in there, you had to cut into the soffit. This is what the cost is.
Yeah, because the work's already done.
Yeah, we did it on a time and material basis. Ron
'Cause it was
approved
done
it.
on my last
Yep.
tour. I think they just got the doors in.
So this was changes that occurred from CTI after the construction documents went out to bid, so that what would change.
It turned out really nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we didn't want to deal with Houseman and all the general conditions, all the stuff, so we just say, we're gonna do this with tickets, so they provided us tickets.
Okay.
That Todd signed each day, and they got the work passed and got this all billed, and it seemed reasonable.
Agreed.
Do I need to move approval on each one? Is that it?
Yes.
We'll do each one separately.
Okay, I move approval.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, we will move on to PCO 123R1, please, Shane.
And I just want Jody and everybody to see, this is the kind of level of, I mean, there's a ton of them. Every ticket we made them get, sign off on the hours worked each day. This is kind of backup that we would expect to see for some of the other changes,
Absolutely.
but this is what we did get here by doing this.
Okay.
Sorry, there's so much backup for that, it took a second to get to the next one. All right, whew, finally. Okay, so, the next one we're gonna do is PCO 123R1. This is for RF 552 R2. Kevin?
Yeah, so this involves some changes to the security detention ceilings in the activity room on the first and second floor. There's a slope ceiling that goes
Yep.
over the emergency egress for those areas. Because of the fire dampers that we added under PR 35R, we had to make some modifications to that. We couldn't continue that slope, so we had to box out around that. And that one, so that's the change in the, this is a labor only. Holly Jail was nice enough for us to donate the material they had from a previous job, which is the same exact material we had.
This one that there's like a box just on one end and then it's,
That's
yeah,
exactly
okay.
what this is,
Because
yeah.
that
Basically,
works
that's-
done too.
Yeah, that's to allow the air to get to that fire damper that goes back to that chaser. So again, everybody worked together on this one and we were able to minimize this cost. I think originally this was somewhere in the ballpark of $40,000 or $50,000. So,
And a delay to the project.
and delay to the project. So we
So-
avoided both of those by working with the contractors on this.
So,
I've heard nothing but good things from Poly Jail, so I'll move approval.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0. We move on to PCO 125R.
I'm almost there.
You're good.
There's so many documents with DocuSign. Okay, so 125R is for fan power box for PCO 125. Okay, so this is the fan power box for PR 43. You guys will all remember this had some exorbitant costs on it before. It had all these general conditions from Houseman. This is that same number from Suter. Okay, but I told you would get it with the general conditions removed. So this takes it down with fees down to $6,836. This is based on ASI 10. This is one of the pieces. We actually issued CCD 11 for this one
Correct.
because the number was so crazy. We worked with Hausman and got the number down to where it's supposed to be, and then Kevin was able to prove it, so we were able to move forward with this.
I think this one was previously $60,000.
No. 72 was what Hausman added to this number,
That's right. I
so
know
this
that's
one
right.
was $79,000.
Yeah, and so again, by, working with them, we were able to get it down to just what is actually needed for this change, which is just that one fan power box, remove the general conditions, and move forward with the work. So, yeah, we feel this price is appropriate to replace that one fan power box.
This is Suter. If you look at the box, we got about $1,400 in material, $3,000 of labor, a little bit of pipe insulation repair, and that's up on the screen there.
This is part of like the SI 10.
Correct.
This is part of the SI 10. This is when our Corey RCD pushed back and said you can't alter this box. You actually have to buy a new box so the owner has the warranty. So
Yeah.
this is
Okay, I remember you and I talked about that, yeah. All right, I would move approval.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Passes 3-0. Now we'll move on to PCO 126, please.
okay. This is one for everybody that's going to be kind of hard because it's a big number, but it's super easy. You approved pay app, the December pay app that had $163,000 for fire damper work. They go on a line. Well, that's not how contractually we need to do this. We need to keep track of it by change order. So we approved last month to pay $163,000 for fire damper work that was documented. This is just the change order that puts that all in the right form for us. So this actually is amount, but it's gonna take amount off the pay request and actually put it on the right way, okay?
So this is also part of the PCO 81 for almost $1.8 million. So they provided enough backup to substantiate this amount of
Sure.
payment on that versus what they were requesting. So in review of this and through discussion with Shane and everyone, we felt this amount is appropriate for a portion of that change.
And this is that pay request where we approved it, that's in here up on the screen.
And again, these are the additional costs we're incurring that will be asserted back as damages against responsible parties.
So
Okay. I move that we approve 126.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Very good. We move on to PCO 127R.
yeah, you gotta give me a second, this PCO has so much backup.
You're good.
With the 100 plus pages that you're seeing.
Correct. All right, so this last one is 127R. So PR 45, which is another part of ASI 10. Okay? Again, we made Hausman remove the general conditions off of this because they had inserted general conditions on it. We said no. This is part of ASI 10 work. So this is just Suter's number up there for $1,940 and their fees for $118 for a $2,000 change order, not what Hausman was messing with here either. So again, this is GGA doing a great job getting the numbers where they're supposed to be.
This is for replacement of 3 additional balancing valves that were brought up in review with RCE.
Yep, and those are the ones I gave you today.
Yeah.
Other than the original 8.
Annual. Annual balance.
I'll move approval.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Very good, thank you. That concludes item number 7. Item number 8 on our agenda today is discussion and action on PCCO 025R. Shane Everett from Old Baker Group, please.
Yeah, so, again, this is gonna seem like a large number, but you gotta subtract off this number, the 163, 365.30, because you've really already paid that last month. So this is not asking for that money, it's just the accounting piece of it.
Yep.
So the actual change is only like 25 grand. And of that, again, Pauly Jail helped us out immensely with the $13,000 number, and the rest of the stuff is just kind of relative. So do you have questions? We've walked through every one of these, so.
I move that we approve PCCO 025R.
I'll second that.
All in favor, aye?
I,
Aye. Thank you. Passes 3-0.
I would just like to make a comment that I do appreciate Polly Jail, I appreciate you watching out, and Shane, you haven't given yourself much credit, but you've worked a lot on getting these down too, so thank you very much for that.
And a very involved process, and he does an awesome job with it. I just like the other two commissioners to know that. And thank you, Kevin, for everything that you've done.
So we're here for it, appreciate it.
Yep. No problem. We appreciate your help.
You haven't missed many meetings, so
Nope, and, that battle a lot of these throughout the process too, is the first one to come up, I think we're up to 120, obviously 7 so far, so.
I do want you to know, we spent 4 hours with Hausman battling the number for the pay request you saw. And Kevin was there the whole time with us.
Yep.
This was supposed to be an hour-long meeting, and we got done at noon a week ago on Friday. We're gonna go into another session. We should get to the LEC update, I'm gonna ask Kevin to stay up there.
Okay. All right, very good. All right, item number 9 on the agenda is information and update on the LEC project. And again, I call on Shane Albrecht, and as he has indicated, he will have Kevin assist.
Alright, so last Friday, we walked through Pay App 32 because Pay App 32 is for January. We're all concerned about subs and everybody. We've got calls about people and wanting to know why they haven't get paid. And our answer has been, because there's so many general conditions stuck on top of all these pay requests that we don't agree with, and it takes so long to filter through them. So where I was going is, we just spent 4 hours, 2 weeks ago on Friday, walking through all of that stuff. We also walked through Pay App 33, which was a partial release of retainage. That pay app was rejected, and that's through a large part of working with Kevin. He did, and Jody. Jody was very instrumental in that as well. So we've had a lot of meetings about this stuff to try to take care of everybody and get these things done. We got a very, very, very heated call from the owner of Polly Jail last week because they hadn't been paid, he said, since December, and they had a big number that they were owed. And Polly Jail has done nothing but try to help us get to the end of this and everything else, and was very, very, very frustrated by this. So I spent 7 phone calls, about 2.5 hours with the owner from Polly Jail last week. Do you know what's the cool thing for everybody sitting in this room? There was a door that we needed because, I don't know if everybody remembered, it was an inch and a quarter short. It was a tripping hazard as you went to walk into the building. GGA came up with a solution, but that door was literally 2 months before we were gonna have it. Good news for everybody, that door shipped this week. Polly Jail, after we got through the being mad because they haven't been paid and figured out it wasn't our fault, says, how can we help get you out of this job as fast as we can? So they called Titan Door, who everybody should remember actually flew up to the Sierra facility and walk around with Ron and walk through every one of these doors. They called Titan Door. They put that to the front of their list. That door was done production yesterday. It's going to be shipped today or tomorrow. It will be on site for next week. Polly Jail isn't waiting on Hausman to give them a change order for this. They don't care. Their client is us. They want us to be happy. So they have committed to, they have 2 guys, which is Travis Bush and Tristan Bush, which are 2 phenomenal people that are coming up to work. They're going to get that door installed, get the frame fixed so it's right. The owner's happy with what he's got. We have a question about 22 doors that are in day rooms, so we don't think that they were grouted properly by Hausman. They're going to fix that. They have a solution. They're going to drill in themselves, and they're going to just make it right for the owner. because they don't want this to delay any longer. They called Akron and told them you need to get there on site, because Akron's one of their subs.
Sure.
And they know that there's issues with different things, they don't care. Get there, get this taken care of for the owner. Because we want the owner to look for us in the future. They did ask one more thing of us, okay? When we get down to substantial completion, we start talking about partial release of retainage and different things. They wanted us to remember that they were our partner through this whole thing, and to try to look at them and get them partially released because they didn't want their retainage tied up in anything else before they got paid. Okay?
And from my standpoint, we'll look at requests for early release of retainage, and we'll release it pursuant to Iowa law. And there's reasons why we hold back, and that'll all go to Houseman, and then it's Houseman who will, they have the contracts with the subs, and they'll decide, what to do with that. But, per law, subcontractors and suppliers get notice of requests for early release of retainage, so all the subs will have notice of that when those come in.
So, I want you all to know how hard Kevin's been working these last few weeks as we're getting closer to the end. Because and I'm sorry, my computer was dying already, it showed it on the screen. There's a map of areas that are ready for backwalks, areas that have been ready for punch lists, and everything else. And like other things on the project, we don't necessarily agree with where Hausman says they are and who they're waiting on for backwalks and punch lists. For a while, Ron and I were being blamed for why we weren't backwalking enough areas, as well as Katie Schmitz was blamed for that as well. So they made a big deal. We got 5-6 emails on this about we were holding them up, okay? We actually went out, Katie and I we're gonna devote 3 days a week to just deal with this. We were done on Monday and still found areas that hadn't been corrected, even though they were colorably backwalked, okay? So we've been working with Kevin. He spent a bunch of time on this, documenting areas that we showed up on this time to backwalk, and it wasn't ready. Backwalk is verification that they corrected the punch list items. And we were still seeing the same blue tape that we put on 2 weeks ago. So we've been working with Hausman, and they promised this process is getting better. The map they did send out this last time was way more accurate than the maps we had been getting. But that's kind of what we're dealing with. For everybody's knowledge, and Jody probably killed me for this one, but Hausman did provide me a schedule yesterday. I shared it with Jody. I'll share it with you. The completion date on this schedule is still mid-May. Okay? So.
And the date given by Houseman was a June date, and we don't agree with that date,
But the date on the schedule is mid-May.
Oh, on the date on,
Yes, you didn't listen to what I said. The date on the schedule.
they presented a new schedule, and they're back to a mid-May, or their schedule has a mid-May date despite the June date and their PCCO.
Correct.
Interesting.
Oh, maybe they'll pick that up in the
I
news.
report that.
How can you explain just for a moment, if it was a mid-May turnover date, what that really means as far as occupancy?
Sure.
Yeah, generally, I mean.
Generally, so when we say mid-May turnover day, that they say they're done, that means that Kevin here has issued a certificate of substantial completion. Substantial completion isn't final completion. So the contractor still has their 30 days to correct punch list items, okay? And then during that time or after that time, depending on the list, Kenny still has time to do some FF&E mounting of equipment and stuff that will be dependent on when he can get into those areas and when they're out of the space. So just because mid-May is substantial completion doesn't mean Hausman's gone and done. It doesn't mean we can necessarily occupy the building and start moving inmates in. That's a sheriff's office decision based on where they're at with training, where they're at in the building, and where we're at with these different other things, ASI 10 included, okay?
So just to further expand on substantial completion, by definition, the owner has to be able to occupy that building for extended use. So that means the sheriff's office could occupy that, they could bring inmates over there. So it'll be minor amounts of work, we'll paint, touch up, a ceiling tile, whatever, but minor amounts of work to be completed in that. So we're, again, that's what it is we push for, is get that mid-bay now, a substantial completion date, but they have to be able to occupy that building for its intended purpose. So just want to clarify that.
Yeah, so we have right now we have a TCO, which is a temporary certificate of occupancy. It is listed for the whole administration part of the building, so the courts, sheriff's office, county attorney's space, elevators 1 through 5, minus elevator 6, which we call the Nelson elevator now. Elevator 6, and it only has TCO. We only have TCO for some areas in the jail that have been completed. So that's a very vague term, but we do have a.
This is the tower, yes.
Yes, and the kitchen.
And the kitchen, yeah. And so we're gonna verify some of the stuff tomorrow. I know the city's done their review of it, but that does not mean they are substantially complete. There is still corrective work that would be done. In fact, Carol from our office is out there with Todd Wick right now, backfalling some of these areas.
Sure.
All right, so for everybody's knowledge that is we do have a milestone coming, with Paulie coming to help and everything else. We do have Delbert Longley's date finalized. He will be there for a jail inspection on the 19th, okay? Hausman has a meeting that I was at 1 week ago, sorry. Not usually here 1 week ago, but I came on Wednesday. Sat in a meeting with Hausman and all the subs as we talked about how we were gonna get through all the Delbert's corrective list and when they had to have that done. So Hausman is very confident that they can be through Delbert's corrective list by April 17th to allow for us to, allow for Delbert to come back on the 19th. And everybody remember, that's also hats off to the sheriff's office, hats off to Delbert, because he is one jail inspector for 99 counties, and he was able to find a time to come back to Woodbury in very short order. Just was notified yesterday and already responded that he could be there on the date that he was requested. I would like to change everything up. Everybody's kind of tired of hearing me read, and I'm not very good at it. As Ron says, I stutter all the time, and I stammer and stuff, and my voice is kind of boring. So I'm gonna hand this to Mr. Wick. You got one? I would like you to read the LEC update, and I'll pass that out to everybody.
Need a motion to submit that to the authority board.
That would be a good idea.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Very good.
Are
Wonderful.
you gonna give this to the media as well at the
I
same
will.
time?
I will.
Okay, that's a question.
Before we,
That's why I was saying.
before I read this, I'd like to share something with the other two commissioners and the other people in this room. I was able to hear the telephone conversation that Shane was talking about with the Pauley Jail. It ran off the cliff. The working relationship with Baker Group and with GGA allowed this whole thing to go back together. And we're moving forward with a very positive process for Pauley Jail, as Shane talked about, how they want to help us get this thing finished. And I want you to know that that was all because of an awesome working relationship that these people have in Pauley Jail.
Just to let you know, a side note on that, not to keep pounding on it, but when contractors aren't getting paid for work like that, and we're trying to get the building occupied and trainings and so forth done, they have the ability to shut that secure electronic system down and not being used because they've not been paid for it. So again, this is a large part from Shane, and again, to Ron's point, our working relationship with Pauley over the years as well too. They avoided that from happening and keep this thing going, training going out there in the facilities.
Very good.
What was the payment that wasn't made in December, and what was that all about?
So, sorry, I'm just gonna let you answer that.
No, go ahead.
So we just approved, about a month ago, pay request 31R at that time. That payment that we just approved, back in March was for December's billings.
Sure.
Because of all the retainage and all the general conditions that was stuck on the top of that dam, we rejected it. And
Yeah, instead of waiting for them to revise their pay application, because they were kind of dragging their feet a little bit on that process, we went ahead and marked that up as a team effort to get something moving forward and get these subs paid.
so the one you just approved during the last authority meeting is January's pay request. That normally would be approved in February. So just so you understand, because of the general conditions that are being put on the top of this bill that we don't agree with,
Yeah.
there was they wanted almost $650,000, okay? And you guys gave them 96 or 95, I think.
75 something.
Okay, and that's through us working through that whole process and saying, no backup for this, no backup for that, no backup for that. Okay? So you gotta get done with January's payout before they can send you February's, because they use the numbers off that to populate all those numbers.
Okay.
So we just today received February's pay request. So that'll go into the process, just like before, we gotta review it, see what's in it that's right or not.
Okay.
But we are taking a very concerted effort to get those paid when we can. And Kevin has spent so much time redlining this, and Kenny's office, Ryan has to keep picking on Kevin, because
I suck at math sometimes.
So are we?
I'm not an accountant, I'm just an architect.
So are we current with all the mechanics lien waiver documents that we should have? Are we current on those?
And we don't have mechanics liens on public projects, we have subcontractors can make claims against the region.
The lien waivers, I think is what Dana's referring
we
to.
do have lien waivers.
But the point I was making is there's not technically public, there's not mechanics liens that can be filed through on other, so the waivers are lien waivers, but also waivers of claims under 573 against the retainage.
So those are current?
I didn't see him with the last pay.
We didn't, they are current on pay up 31, we'll have to email about 32, did you know? They're not updated on 32.
But those are enforceable, aren't they, Joey, then?
Yeah,
Lien
yes.
waivers.
Yeah, we
But
call
not
them
mechanics.
so we call them lien waivers because that's just the common usage, but the point was technically no one has the right to file mechanics liens, so what they're waiving are the rights to file claims against retainage.
Correct.
But we still it's easier to call them lien waivers.
Okay.
All right.
She knows that.
I'd like to read the press release we have for today. The authority's focus continues to be working with Hausman Construction and Goldberg Group on completion of our project. CCD 10R, which involves certain work on the mechanical system, was issued on February 7th, 2024, and such work is still ongoing. CCD 10R encompasses ASI 10, RFI 557, and PR 42R. CCD 11R, which also involves work on the mechanical system, was issued on March 15th, 2024, and such work is also still ongoing. CCD 11R encompasses PR 43, which is part of ASI 10 fix. As previously discussed, the work under these two CCDs represents additional mechanical work, including additional coils and replacement of certain control and balancing valves being completed pertaining to the testing and balance of the mechanical system. As also previously discussed, the authority's position is that the work under these two CCDs represents additional mechanical work due to errors on the part of the mechanical engineering services provided by Goldberg Group's engineering consultant in Troba. CCDs 10R and 11R were issued because of the authority did not agree with Hausman's proposed cost for such additional mechanical work. The cost and time impact of CCD 10R and CCD 11R are still being determined, but ultimately the authority will be asserting these additional costs that it will have to pay to Hausman for this additional work against the design professionals, Goldberg and Introba. By the way of further update, during his March inspection of the jail, State Jail Inspector Delbert Longley created a list of creative items corrective items, that needed to be completed by April 17th. The state jail inspector's reinspection is now scheduled for April 19th. Everyone, please remember, he is the one jail inspector for all 99 counties. The authority has continued to access and evaluate the ongoing delays and remaining work that needs to be completed on this project. The authority's estimated substantial completion date continues to be mid-May. In a recent PCCO, Hausman proposed a new substantial completion date in June. As with other proposed substantial completion dates referred by Hausman in prior PCOs, Hausman is essentially reserving the right to bill for certain expenses at least through that date. As the parties continue to evaluate the remaining scope of work on the project, but the authority does not agree with such date, and instead our estimated substantial completion date remains mid-May. The authority and county continue to be damaged by the law enforcement center project being delayed. The authority and its council continues to assess its additional costs and damages on the project caused by the inactions, and concurrent delays by Hausman, Goldberg, and Goldberg's engineering in Troba, and will hold the responsible parties liable for such additional costs and damages. The authority will continue to provide updates to the public, but we unfortunately cannot provide specific details on certain aspects of our damages, our claims, and our council's work in that regard due to the potential litigation regarding the project. Maintaining attorney-client confidentiality and attorney work product is vital to the authority's efforts and success in recouping Woodbury County taxpayer dollars by holding the responsible parties liable for the damages on the project. Thank you.
Is there any other questions?
Yeah, I thought that substantial completion date was revised. Did I misunderstand it?
No, substantial completion date is mid-May.
With housing too?
Yes.
Okay, because we're saying June.
Yeah, so Shane, you had said, and I didn't notice either, so in a PCO, Hausman had referenced a June date, but in their most current schedule, Hausman is back to the mid-date.
Yeah, the PCCO 25 that you guys just approved today references that June 7th date,
Right.
okay?
And that's what this was put together on.
So that's what the letter is based on, is they still reference that in their PCCO, the June 7th, but on the schedule that they sent out, Dan, to your point, their substantial completion is mid-May.
Okay. I
So
think
we're
that's a
trying to
good-
clear confusion, there's some confusion because people will see the June date on the
Yes.
PCCO, but so to clarify, our position is it's still mid-May, and on Housing's most recently submitted schedule, it's mid-May on that as well. So a little confusing.
Yeah, and their PCCO date really is June 7th.
Yeah.
I don't want anybody to think, well, we see June, is that June 30th, is that June 9th?
It's June 7th, and again, they're essentially reserving the right to bill certain expenses through that date, but their schedule has it as mid-May, and we agree, we're targeting mid-May still.
The thing that's unknown to Hausman, why they keep reserving these rights, is some of the rest of the impact of some of the changes with ASI 10 that I can't talk about publicly, but some of the changes to ASI 10 that could push that mid-May date out as we continue to evaluate and work on trying to get that date as tight as possible.
Yep, and we'll have another update in 2 weeks on substantial completion estimate.
Very good. Item number 10 is public concerns. Seeing none, or hearing none, we'll move on to item number 11, authority board members' concerns.
Nothing further from me, Mr. Chair.
Not for me.
And for me either, I think we've had a good meeting, I think we've covered a lot of information, and we're getting closer to the finish line, so let's keep moving. I move we go to item number 14, adjournment, and I move that we adjourn.
Second?
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
See how you're gonna do your other meeting.
Yeah, I gotta go upstairs.
Okay, tell everybody hi for me.
Yes, I will.